Yes, it's the holidays, and yes, you're probably eating cookies instead of running. At least I am. Welcome to the Raceblok Show, a show about races, runners, and the decisions we all thought made sense at the time. California International Marathon, CIM, let's talk about it. So, the race doubles also for the US Marathon Championships. It's stacked regardless. It's going to be stacked. It has that or not. But because you're also trying to do, runners are trying to get that Olympic trial qualifying time, so it's stacked. I took a video. I raced it this year, and I took a video of all the people ahead of me, and it's insane the amount of people that are ahead of me. So, you got Olympic trial qualifying time, folks. You got the U.S. Marathon Championships. You got just a bunch of fast, amateur runners. You got great weather. It makes it like the perfect blend of fun, fast times. The winner, Footsum, got it at 2:09:29 seconds, and Molly Bourne won on the women's side, 2 hours and 24 seconds. Or I'm sorry, 2 hours 24 minutes and 9 seconds. Footsum, to go back, 2 hours and 9 minutes and 29 seconds. It was incredible. He overtook Joseph Whelan at the very, 5 kilometers or whatnot. I got to look that up, but it's at the end of the race. And then Molly just, 2 hours and 24 minutes. Insane, insane, insane times there. The Olympic qualifying time for the men, 2 hours and 16 minutes. And for the women, 2 hours and 37 minutes. And I gotta look this data up. We'll talk about Valencia later and how stacked that is. I do have some data on that, but I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of folks got qualifying times at CIM. CIM probably it's probably my favorite course right now. I just recently ran it for the first time this year. I enjoyed it so much. I literally, the week later, I was talking to my wife, like, I want to do it again. Probably on the car ride, actually, back home. I was like, I want to do it again. But a week later, officially signed up for it, booked the hotel. So I'm doing it again 2026. I got my PR there, 3 hours and 12 minutes, beating my previous PR, 3 hours and 14 minutes. I cramped significantly at the very end. So I think I was on pace for like 3:05. Then okay, I was like, all right, maybe 3:10. I was at that pace. And then hamstring cramps blew me up literally at the finish line. That took away obviously some time. And yeah, so I was 3:12. So I feel like I'm fitness wise, I'm probably between 3:05 and 3:10, probably on the closer to the 3:10 range. I have Surf City Marathon coming up in 5-6 weeks, so we'll see how that goes. But to go back to CAM, it's a fun course. It's fast. It's fast, but I put that in air quotes because yes, it is fast, but there's a lot of rollers. And I know that information is now out on the internet. I think everybody knows there are a lot of rollers. I knew about them before I raced it, so I was well informed. I had expectations of it's not going to just be a net downhill course and I just get free speed the whole way. I'm going to have to earn that free speed. So you got from mile up to mile, I think 18, you have rollers. You got literally, I don't even know, like 30 or so rollers by the time you get to 18, which is good in a way. You got some free speed on the down. You got to work hard on the incline. You got so many fast runners there. So many runners actually of all times. So you're gonna have packs to work with, which is nice. But you gotta have to work for it. I was feeling pretty sluggish, and I was fighting a throat viral thing. I was at the tail end of it. I mean, I wasn't sick by any means, but it impacted my training because I got it maybe like a week and a half before the race. So I was just kind of just tired, and I didn't get enough training at the very end. But in any case, I was tired. I was feeling it by mile 16. I was like, okay, mile 16. I know all the data out there says, okay, by mile 16, mile 18, you got the hardest part behind you. And now it's just pretty much net downhill with not many rollers. And that's nice. But your quads are wrecked from all the downs. Your hamstrings are hurting. You're tired. But, once you get to that mile 18 part, I feel like you're at you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. And my tunnel had some hiccups, and but it was a fun race. I highly, highly, highly recommend. Actually, you know what? I don't highly recommend it because it's going to get even more popular, and then it's just going to be a mess. And there's going to be like a lottery system. So don't sign up for CIM. I'm kidding. Sign up for CIM. You'll have a great time. I hear the weather's pretty much consistent at race day every year. It rained a little bit, I believe, earlier in the week. Actually, I don't think it did rain actually. So I think it was good the whole week. I got there on Friday, and Friday to Sunday, and it was totally fine. Just coming from Southern California, definitely cold. So keep that in mind. But yeah, that's CIM from a course perspective. Yeah, so going back to the winner, Footsum won it at 2:09, and then Molly won it at 2:24. Footsum actually wasn't leading the race the majority of the time. Joseph Whelan was, and I think he was leading it till about like 5 kilometers to go, and yeah, he just couldn't hold on to it. I've been listening to a lot of him on different podcasts, and he's a great runner. I believe he won Indianapolis, and that was only like 5-6 weeks prior to CIM. Right? I think it was 5-6 weeks, and so he won that. CIM, I believe he won that. I gotta double check on that, and then before that, he's done like 3 or 4 very impressive marathons, and so a bummer for him that he could not hold it to the very end. But to get second place at CIM with that amount of great runners, I mean, that's huge impressive feat. So good for him. A few other runners I was following: Sarah Hall, great comeback from New York City. I raced New York City as well. I heard her story about how she could not finish New York. So to go from that to now doing an impressive time at CIM, I think she got second place. Her time is 2:24:36. So very, very impressive. She was only behind Molly by like 20 some seconds, 30 seconds. If the math is good. And then a few other folks. Adam Wood got at 2:16:56. Michael Otteson got 2:18:54. Jacob Thompson, shout out to Jacob. I was listening to him and Rory on their podcast, and I was trying to get a little tidbits on his training for CIM. And so I was trying to like steal some of what he was doing. And I think I did steal I think his last workout I stole, although I reduced the volume quite, a decent volume reduction compared to what he was doing. But yeah, like the overall philosophy of that workout, I quote unquote borrowed from him or stole. And I thought that kind of helped me. So shout out to Jacob. He got a 2:10:54. And then I hear that Rory Rory Linkletter was actually pacing. And I thought I saw him when I was on my shakeout run on Friday. I was doing a shakeout across from the hotel, and I was like, this guy looks just like Rory. He's got the Rory hair. He was just kind of walking around the park. And I was like, I think that's Rory. And I was literally going to go say, hey, this really quickly. I didn't want to bother him. I was going to say, hey, what's up, Rory? And I saw his shoes, and he had Nike shoes on. So I was like, oh, I don't think that's Rory. I don't think Rory would be wearing some Nike shoes. And if he did, he may get a little bit of trouble with Puma on that. So I found out, I think, just stalking him on Strava, because I was looking at his shakeout stuff he was doing, and he was in that area when I was in the shakeout. So it was not Rory. But shout out to him as well for awesome pacing. I hear he did a fantastic job pacing. But yeah, that's CIM. I really, really enjoy CIM. I'm trying to think of any tidbits. It's also interesting because you also have that relay race going on. So at the halfway mark, mile 13, you see like the relay folks, and that gives you like a burst of energy as well. It's a lot of spectators there. It's got, a DJ, like someone on the mic, calling in names and stuff of that nature, and it gives you kind of that energy. That was really fun as well to see that. And I heard the relay race. I want to do that one day. I hear the relay race is pretty fun, so that would be a cool experience. Next year, I'm doing the marathon, not doing the relay, and I'm looking for. I feel like if I can have CIM be my A race every year, that's my one. Unless I get into a world major in the fall. Maybe, spring, what do we have? Like Boston, which if I get into Boston, it wouldn't be like an A race for me. It would just be a kind of victory lap, like me getting into Boston and just kind of like enjoying it, getting all that, the vibe of Boston and just being immersed into that. That will be what I want to do, getting to Boston. So I'm trying to think. Tokyo would be fun. That one I would go all out. So, and that's a spring marathon. But yeah, if I get to Chicago, Tokyo, those would probably be another A race type of courses. But CAM will always be, if I do that year, which I'm hoping to do it every year, barring any injuries or things of that nature, that'll be my A race goal. And it's or course. It's just a fun course. The logistics they have everything down, in my opinion, perfectly. The expo is perfect. I barely had to wait in line, although I got there on Friday, and it was before the crowds probably got there. I saw video clips on Saturday, and there were lines, but I think they're just so efficient and organized that it goes by pretty quickly. When I did it, that was like literally 2 people in line, and I called, got my bib. I'm not a big expo person, so I just picked up my bib, went around, took some pictures, and I was done like in 20 minutes. So they got the logistics, and then the shuttles to the race, super efficient. I stayed at the Hyatt in downtown Sacramento. The buses were like less than 5 minutes from the hotel. So got there. I waited for, this is my fault, I waited for the better bus. There was those coach buses. You got the school buses, you got the coach buses. I was like, you know what? I heard you could stay in the bus when you get to the starting line. You don't have to like leave the bus. So I'm like, I want to be kind of comfortable here. So I waited for the coach bus. I could have got on the school bus, left a little earlier, but I said, you know what? Let me just wait the 5 minutes. And so I just kind of hung back, waited, got on the coach bus. It was super comfortable. Got to the starting line in about, 30 minutes. And it was perfect. I just got to stay in the bus, nice, warm, comfortable bus. It was great. And then once I got out of the bus, there's so many porta potties. You could easily just wait in line for like 10 minutes, do your thing, and then the starting corral's right there. Super easy to get in, and you're off. And it's great. You got like the world marathon type of vibe, but you got that small local race vibe as well. They blend it perfectly. So you can have that experience with a bunch of fast runners, but you also have the experience or you could be in just that small town, race experience as well. So, I love CIM. So, welcome to the mile 20 questions. So, this is where pacing was questionable, but opinions are forming. So, these are just like questions. As this show expands, we'll definitely get viewers and listeners and their questions. Right now, this is all from AI. So, so these are just a handful of questions from AI. So we'll see how this goes. So, first question: why do so many runners underestimate CIM, even though it's called a quote fast course? So I kind of touched a little bit on this during my CIM discussion. I think why it's called a fast course. I mean, first it's net downhill, so you get that. You got those rollers all nestled into that net downhill, and that gives you the opportunity to go fast. But I think fundamentally why it's a fast course, and this is just my opinion, the last 8 miles. The last 8 miles is what makes it a fast course. You don't have that many rollers, if at all. You have like one quote unquote hill, which is like the bridge, which in my opinion wasn't that bad. And then it's literally downhill / flat the whole way. And there's not many turns except for I think mile 22, 23. You're kind of getting into the city. Maybe it's like 24, 25. And you get in the city, you got little turns here and there. But for the most part, it's just a straight, flat / downhill course at that point. So that's why it's fast. And I think why people underestimate it, I think it's that graph. If you look at the graph from the CIM website, it looks so smooth. Like you don't really see the rollers. I think they have to adjust that graph and actually show those rollers. But it's like up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And I'll see if I can put a screenshot of my Strava on here. But it's just like you see those, it's like the stock market. It's like, and it just keeps on going. So I think your quads are going to get ruined, and you're just not going to have steady pacing. It's not a course like Chicago where you can just have steady pacing the whole way. So I think that's why people underestimate it. But I think as more and more content about CM is out there, I think people are going to underestimate it a little bit less. It is, as I mentioned, my favorite course I've ever done. And so I'm not trying to say CM sucks by any means. It's my favorite course, but I think a lot of people, and to an extent, I underestimated it too. Not as much probably because I watched so much content on CIM before I raced it, so I kind of felt like I knew lots of the course. But I think those are the reasons. Question number 2: what type of runner actually thrives at CIM, and who tends to struggle? Hills. Like if you're a runner that is really good at hills, you're going to be awesome at CIM. Again, you look at it as net downhill, people are going to be like, oh, as long as I can be really good just running down, I'm going to be great at this. So I'm just going to start practicing running top of the mountain to the bottom of the mountain. No, that's not going to work. You need to practice hills like you're practicing for New York City Marathon. I think New York City and CIM, same type of training principles, methodologies. That's what you need to do to be successful at CIM. Also be patient. The first at least the first half. You're gonna be like, oh, an up, another up, another up, another up, and you just have to be patient because at a certain point you're just not gonna have those ups anymore. So just be patient, and then yeah, practice hill training, and then strength training as well. Make sure your quads can take that damage because if you're gonna get that free speed on the down, your quads are gonna get ruined. So make sure you are ready to roll on strength training. You should always be ready to roll when it comes to strength training, but just be sure you're a little bit more prepared for quad damage for CIM. Question number 3. What is the single most common mistake you see runners make at CIM? I think this is similar to like all races. I think you have a tendency to go out a little too fast, especially because the first mile is very down. There's no up. It's like the first mile, you're just going straight down. And it's a pretty extensive down. You're just going down. So I think folks get a little bit carried away. I got a little carried away. I think I ran it based on what my fitness was 2 weeks prior. That I would have been fine, but getting that throat thing made me a little fatigued, and I just didn't have the best taper weeks. So if I just went a little bit slower, I think it would have been better for me. But I try to do it my best as I can, not going out too crazy, because also in mile 2 you're just going up. So that's something that I think the most common mistake. I think outside of that, because that's something that happens to every race, it's not very specific to CIM, where people go out too fast. I think the other mistake is, at least for me, I wasn't patient enough. I think I went a little too fast on the down. It's like, okay, here's a down, I'm just gonna go fast. And I think I went fast a little too much in the beginning. Not the beginning first 3 miles, but I'm talking about the first 16 miles. I went pretty fast. So I got to just do much better next year on that. Question 4. How should CM change the way runners train compared to a flat course like Valencia? I talked about this. Come on, AI. These are very similar questions where you have to just practice the ups, the hill training. You got to do much more hill training than Valencia. I never ran Valencia, but I would expect training to be very similar to like New York, Chicago marathon training, Valencia training. They're pretty flat courses. Weather typically is on the cooler side in Valencia. We'll get to Valencia a little bit later in the show, but teaser alert, I believe it was a little warmer than it usually is. So, but yeah, I think CIM is different, very different type of training than Valencia. Question number 5, and this is the last one for at least CIM. If you were coaching a runner targeting CIM next year, what would you do differently? Yeah, I think going back to hill training, where I live, there are a lot of hills, and so I'm able to do hill training. I hate hill training. For me, it's harder to get confidence doing marathon pacing when I do hill training, because let's say I do a long run and I have to do marathon pace or effort in there. It's really hard for me to do that when I'm either going down or up. I just feel like it does give me a understanding of where my fitness is. So I hate hill training. I think more on that side of things than the actual hills. I mean, I hate running on hill. Hills are just like my kryptonite anyway, but I think I could get better at that if I could just focus on, or take away the marathon pacing out of the equation and say, okay, we're just gonna go by effort. But I would do that only if I do CIM. If I do a marathon that's mostly flat with some hills, I'll probably just try to do the opposite of that type of training. So for me, coaching a runner, I'm not a coach, but let's say I am a coach, I would just say hill training. Number two, really understand the course. Like if you know which of the hills are a little harder than the others, you could then figure out that strategy. I try to do that, but and I didn't want to write all that on my on my arm like I know some people do. I just want to write like, okay, mile 3 do this, mile 6 do this. I didn't want to do that, and I'm not very good at memorization, so I couldn't memorize everything, but I did have an understanding. Okay, mile 8 as an example, I believe was the hardest hill on the course. So when I got to mile 8, I was making sure that I'm fueled correctly. Oh, by the way, fueling, and we'll talk about that possibly later, but fueling is something that you gotta focus on. It drains you, CIM. So you gotta get that fuel in again. You gotta just get those gels in, make sure you're fueled, because when you get to mile 18 and 20, you need to have had all that fuel in your system. I thought I did a pretty decent job. I didn't do the best job at that, and so I'm gonna have to work on that. But I would say hills, fueling, and studying the course, those are what I would emphasize the most if I was coaching a runner for CIM. All right, let's switch over to Valencia Marathon. Whew, that race. I blame Ben Parks for making that such a popular race. I've been watching his videos of Valencia, and every year it just seems to get a little bit busier and busier, and more folks are racing it. And let me tell you, it was a stacked race this year. It's getting, as I mentioned, busier and busier, crazier and crazier. But I watched Nick Bester's video, Kafuzi's video on it, Ran to Japan, Ben Parks's video, and just seeing how many people. I think it was Nick Bester's video, and my apologies if it was somebody else's, but he showed the amount of people around him. And Nick Bester, if you guys don't know, I mean, he's like what's his PR, like 219 or something? And he was showing how many people are in front of him. And again, my apologies if it's not Nick's, but in any case, it was just so many people. And I had some stats later about that, but the amount of people racing that race now is just insane. And it's one of the races that I mean, I won't do it this upcoming year. I'm going to do CIM, as I mentioned. And I also mentioned that CIM is going to be a yearly thing for me, so I don't know how I would ever be able to do Valencia, but I'll make it happen one year. I'll be able to do Valencia, and I won't do CIM, and I'll just do Valencia. But I hear that it's a lottery system now. Someone let me know if it's not a lottery system for 2026, but it's getting a little bit crazy out there. But let's talk about the actual race. It seemed, based on those videos, that was a little warmer. I mean, it wasn't like Berlin. Was Berlin the one that was like super, super hot this year? And it wasn't like that, but it was warmer than usual. Valencia, I hear that it's a race that typically has cooler temps, and so for it to be a little warmer, I think I have the temperatures here. I think it was 12 to 17 degrees Celsius, around that range for most of the race. And then on Fahrenheit, that's about 54 to 63 degrees Fahrenheit. At the end of the race, I looked for some folks, probably got up to 68 degrees, 20 degrees Celsius. That's warm. So I think I saw Kafuzi's video where he was trying to get into the shade and stuff as he was racing, and that helped at least him. But yeah, that's pretty warm. I mean, to compare that to CIM was, and this was like the whole day, it was like 45 degrees or something Fahrenheit. So it was definitely a warm one. One of the fun stories that came out of that was Alex Yees. he stepped into the marathon scene and he ran a 2:06:38, making him the second fastest British marathon ever, just behind Sir Mo Farah's 2:05. And him coming from a triathlon background, I wonder how much that helps. I mean, obviously it helped him, but being able to train different ways, and obviously he's training at a very high end, those different ways like cycling. I wonder if that helps on the running side. Uh, Curious. I'm not a big. I don't cycle at all. I mean, I love just casual bike riding, but I'm not a cyclist, and nor do I ever plan on being like a cyclist. But I wonder how much that actually helps. And I'm also terrible at cross training. I love running so much that it's hard for me to do anything else besides running. So if it ain't running, I count me out. Ran to Japan. Oh, I struggled, or I'm sorry, he struggled that race. I struggled watching him struggle. It was tough to watch. I mean, I follow him. I root for the guy. He's amazing. And I was pretty confident that he's going to just do amazing at this race. And to see him, I mean, I saw, it was Nick Bester's video, and also in Ran to Japan's video. I think he used Nick's footage of him struggling and how to get, eventually he had to DNF it, but he looked like he was in pain, and to see that and see what he had to go through after the race, but hope he gets back at it. I know he will. I mean, he probably knowing him, I don't know him, but knowing his content, he probably did like a long run the next day, and he's probably back at it, ready to smash a PR. So, but it was unfortunate that he was not able to get his goal time. Nick Bester, watched this video, really enjoyed his content. As I had mentioned, his video was, gave me a lot of insights into the race. Ben Parks, I think he got I don't know what he was going for, but he got a sub 3. And I remember him mentioning that, at least he got a sub 3. And I think he was at like 2:55. I think that's what he got for that. And I think his PR was at Valencia, and it was like, what, 2:20? And again, Ben, I blame you for making Valencia so popular. People have been watching your videos on it, and they've been signing up. But yeah, one year I want to do Valencia. It seems pretty cool. So let's do another round of the mile 20 questions. This is going to be interesting because I have not actually participated in Valencia, but just this kind of based on what I've seen out there, the research I've done in Valencia. It's also another reason why I don't have many questions here, but I think it's just actually one question. So the question is, why does Valencia consistently produce some of the fastest marathon times in the world? Well, I think it's just a course profile. I think it's flat. A lot of people, it's flat, and then also the temps. So take this year out of the equation. I think, typically you got some cooler temps. You got the flat course. It's a December race, so end of the year. I feel like you got the field size is getting bigger and better, so you're gonna have a lot of groups to work with, and I think it's like a mini Chicago. I think you have the same type of Chicago. I mean, I don't know, spectator wise, you got Chicago there. Based on the videos I've seen, it looks like you got spectators, but you're not gonna have that big city Chicago spectator size. So you take that out of the equation. If you had the cooler temps, you got flat course, you got a whole bunch of fast runners going after fast times. I mean, that's going to make it a fast course. So that's, in my opinion, why it's producing a lot of the fastest or some of the fastest times in the world. And you got a lot of fast runners, like elite runners racing it as well, like big names racing it. I felt bad that Clayton Young couldn't race it. He was going to be there, and for him not to race it, that's a huge bummer. He's another one that I know he's going to get back at it. I think he's already back in training, and he's going to do some awesome things coming up. And so yeah, that's Valencia right there. Let's do a would I actually run in this? So kicking off this segment, let's talk about the Nike Vomero Premium Plus. I don't know if you guys have seen this. It looks crazy. It looks insane. I probably would be embarrassed to rock that on my runs, but I hear such great things about it. I'm super curious. Let me look at some statistics here on it. So stack height, 55 millimeters on the heel, 45 on the forefoot. Weight, that's heavy. For a men's size 10 is 12.4 ounces. It's got a full ZoomX foam, dual, and it's visible, highly visible, air zoom units. Supposedly it's, soft, it's bouncy, obviously heavy. So I don't know how this all works out, but supposedly it's great. I think, Connor's using it. I've seen him in some videos using it. I think on his Strava, I believe. I've seen folks in the running space use it. I try to look for it, see if I can buy it. I think it's all sold out unless you get it on like some third-party websites. So if it's available one day, I would say yes, I would actually run in this. I think having that type of cushion and being able to have it being bouncy at the same time, that right there, I mean, that's super interesting. So yes, I would actually run in this. I don't know if I would continuously run in this after I do my first run in it, but I would actually run in this and hopefully not get embarrassed running in this. Honolulu Marathon, that is, it's one of the largest, like they call it the largest, like, or not largest, but one of the largest like marathon events in the world. And it is a lot of people at this race. Now, it is marathon and 10K, and they both start at the same time. And I believe the numbers, they kind of use both those groups for calculating like how many people are participating in the quote unquote marathon event. So, keep that in mind. But it is super fun. I raced it last year, and my wife did it this year. And it's a fun experience. I mean, obviously you're in Honolulu, so you got like the beach, the vibe, you got, the fun, beach days, you got poke if you love that type of stuff. You got, some good Hawaiian grub, and you just got a whole bunch of like runners in or on an island, and you're going to see a whole bunch of people just rocking their race gear or running gear, carrying their expo bags, it just, wherever you go, you're going to see someone participating in the Honolulu, marathon weekend. You got also the Mary Mile, which is the Saturday before the race, or the day before the race. Then you got on the day of, like the big day, you got the marathon, you got the 10K. It starts super early, like 5 a.m. And you got to get there like, give yourself some time to get to the race because it's so crowded that you want to actually get there a bit early, use the restrooms, things of that nature. I would say, Honolulu for me is also one of my favorite races, and it's not because of the course. The course is part of it, but it's not because I'm trying to get like a PR. It's because of the vibe of being on an island doing a race. I mean, come on, it's like super fun. So we're going to talk about the Mary Mile first. The format is interesting and it's fun. The women get a head start, and they get a 31-second head start. And I don't know why it's 31 seconds, not 30, but in any case, they get a 31-second head start. And the first person, I'm sorry, the 31-second head start on the men. So they'll take off, and then the men will try to catch up to them. And the winner of the race is the first person who crosses the finish line. And this year, Sinclair Johnson, she won it, and she got it at 4 minutes and 21 seconds. And that set a new U.S. road mile record. So huge congratulations to her on that. And my family and I were spectating, and I've never actually seen like elite athletes run. I've seen them, I guess, during like my races, like if it's like an out and back type of thing, then I could kind of see them on the way back. But I've never just been still and seen them go like a blur. And to be able to see that was pretty fun. I mean, the women just like took off. Then you got the men trying to catch up. And where we were at, and the way it's set up, that they'll go out and they'll kind of come back. So you get to see them on the early stage of the mile and then at the later stage. And yeah, Sinclair won it. It was super fun to witness. And then the day of the race, so my wife was there racing it, and it was pouring rain. So she sent me a video of like when she got there. When she got there, I don't think it was raining, but then it just started downpour. And by downpour, I mean downpour. It was insane amount of rain that was unleashed on the runners. And she told me that people kind of ran under like the mall parking lot and kind of hung out there for a little bit. She had a poncho. She bought a poncho, so she was good to go. But then her shoes just got wrecked in the rain. And so then obviously racing it with like wet shoes, you're gonna have that kind of sloshy type of experience. So that was obviously not cool. But then the rain stopped, so that's good. And my family and I, or my kids and I, were able to see her at mile 6, like right next to the hotel. And to be able to see her, it wasn't raining. And so we were able to go out there. I mean, even if it was raining, we would go out there with our umbrella that we purchased when we were or when we got there, Honolulu. And yeah, it was fun. It was cool seeing my wife. It was cool spectating. I'd love to spectate more often. It's a very fun thing to do, and I highly encourage and recommend it to other people for other races. Like, get out there, spectate. It's fun. Like, you'll have a great time. And the runners, even though you may not get those acknowledgments, I mean, we all ran or run marathons or races, and we may not acknowledge them, but we all hear them, right? So we all get that little boost of energy anytime somebody shouts out our name or says, let's go. So please go out there and spectate. I'm going to do more of those. And yeah, I had a great time. So the way the course is set up, we were able to see her at mile 6, but we were not able to see her like any other parts of the course because it kind of takes off from there. And right after mile 6 is obviously the 10K finish line. So the 10Kers finish, and then the marathoners have the great enjoyment of going up Diamond Head. So that's going to be your first big hill. And it's really the only, I mean, Diamond Head's really the only hill, but you get it two ways. You get it at the first like 8 mile mark. And then you get it, not the first, but at the 8 mile mark. And then you get it on the way back around mile 23. So it's your first exposure to Diamond Head. And then you get the down. And then you get pretty much flat the rest of the way. And yeah, and then you get Diamond Head on the way back up. And then close to the finish line. And that's where my kids and I hung out. It started to drizzle, started to rain. According to my wife, that was like the only other time it rained during the race. It was kind of early on. I mean, obviously before the race, and I think around like mile 3 or 4, she said it kind of sprinkled. And then again, it started to rain when she got to like mile 24. And kudos to her. She was healthy. She sped up at the end, and she put the afterburners on, and she finished. We were there at the finish line, but we didn't see her. It was pretty crazy busy, and even the footage I took, I was like, oh, let me see if I could find her, but unfortunately, we did not see her. But we saw her at the end, at the waiting area, and we were able to celebrate with her and had a great time celebrating. So that was cool. So yeah, Honolulu's another one. I highly recommend that race. It's a race where yes, you can get PRs. A lot of people do, but I think you go there just to have a good time. I think just being able to be on an island, go and have fun, have some, some poke and some, you know, galbi and whatever you want. Enjoy the beach scene and life and just have a good time. I think if you have that type of mindset, you're going to have just an amazing time. So go do it. Please go do it. I'm sure they'd want another 10,000 people on marathon weekend. So now let's do another round of the mile 20 questions. So the first question is, where does Honolulu usually start going wrong for most runners? So let's say it didn't rain. It's a pretty decent day. But for Honolulu standards, like when I raced it, it gets hot and muggy. So the first thing is not doing any heat training. So you got to do some heat training before you do Honolulu. If you're trying to go get a PR or trying to get a good time, it gets hot, it gets muggy. It starts at 5 a.m., so you got that going for you, but it starts getting muggy like at 5:01 a.m. So it's a hot and muggy race. But I think to go back to the question, where it usually starts going wrong for most runners, I think not appreciating how Diamond Head is, and then the fact that you get that at mile 23 as well. By that point, you're at the end, so I wouldn't say that's where it starts going wrong. But I would say the Diamond Head, it also gets very congested early, in the race, just because you got the 10Kers and the marathoners running at the same time. When I ran it, it was impossible for me to get to the front. And by front, I mean like where my pacing should have been. And so I had to like jump on curbs, go and, weave in and around because it's just super congested. I was doing, I think 9-minute paces, and I was trying to do like low sevens, and it's impossible to get to low sevens if you're not like all the way in the front. So you're just burning so much energy in the first, at least I did, for the first 5 miles until it starts getting a little bit better, and then once the 10Kers are done, so by mile 6, then it obviously opens up. But I think using a lot of energy early on, that gets to a lot of runners. Number 2, should runners stop treating Honolulu as a PR attempt altogether? No, I think you can do a PR. I think take me back to last year, if I got there super early, like my wife did this year, like she also did the race last year. She did a 10K, so she knew how crowded it got. So if I got there early and I was in good shape, I 100% think I could get a PR. I think you have those 2 hills, that Diamond Head. You take that out of the equation, or you incorporate that in the equation, but there's only 2 of them. So you can just be conservative during those 2. And then you get it on the down, right? To get some, free speed on the down. And then you just hydrate really well. So bring a water bottle if you can. Just bring those, bring a water bottle, hydrate, maybe even take a quick little break at an aid station and refill it. So you just hydrated. I think you get a PR. Absolutely get a PR. The last one on Honolulu is Honolulu actually a harder marathon than it looks on paper? I don't think so. as I mentioned, it's kind of flattish. I think on paper you don't see the humidity, so I think you need to figure that out. You need to I need to be heat trained for this race, even though you can say, okay, it's at 5 a.m. How hot can it be? You're sweating at 5 o'clock in the morning. It's hot and muggy, at least when I ran it. So it is, I wouldn't say it's harder on paper, but you just have to be trained specifically for a hot, muggy race. Hill training, that's a stretch goal. If you can do some hill training, I think you should do hill training. But if you could just make sure you get your fueling and your hydration and you're at a pretty solid fitness level, I think you'll do good at Honolulu. It's a fun race, so sign up, please. It's fun. Today's The Course Doesn't Care stat. So 150 runners finished under the 220 mark. This was for Valencia. 150 runners under the 220 mark. That's incredible. And then 75 broke 215, and then 30,000 actually finished. Think about that. 30,000 finishers, 150 under 220, 75 under 215. A couple more here, under 3 hours, you had 5,500 plus, and then under 230, 500 plus. Valencia, you are not messing around. I'll do some research to see how this compares to world majors, but incredible. Valencia. Good for y'all racing Valencia. Well, there it is, episode 1 of the Raceblok Show. Thank you all for listening, watching. I'm sure y'all are either running or having this in the background, you're doing some work or whatever it may be. Just want to say thank you. Thank you for listening, and hopefully we can grow this so we have many, many, many more episodes coming up. So I'll see you on the next one. Late.